The first question I want to go for is the one from Richard Lin, because he's here. So why not? Why not?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So on YouTube, Richard Lin says, I have booked a trip with my girlfriend in July, and I panicked when I saw the temperatures. We're mostly on the North Island, and I'm concerned about driving and things like black ice. I've read a lot of negative comments about driving in places like Tongariro in July. Got any advice or something I should worry about? All right, so driving in winter in New Zealand. So the first thing I want to do is to talk about the black ice, because that's something that a lot of people mention, and that Richard just mentioned in his question as well. And just for you guys that don't know, black ice is actually, it's normal ice, but it's a really thin layer of ice which covers the, well, black tar on the road. And so it doesn't look like white, doesn't look like there is ice, and you basically just don't see it. So that's what black ice is. It's ice which is so thin that it just covers the whole top of the road. So yes, it does happen quite often in New Zealand, the black ice. You know, it's a common occurrence, and yes, it does get cold in New Zealand in winter, but it doesn't mean that you can't drive at all in winter. I mean, everybody, you know, the country doesn't stop. Everybody still work, and you know, everybody still travel. You guys seen us traveling around New Zealand. Sorry, you guys seen us traveling around New Zealand during our New Zealand Speakers Gap year, when we did 365 activities in 365 days. So about a good fourth of that was in winter, since, you know, winter takes about a fourth of the year.
Wow.
All right, cool. So what I thought we could be doing right here is to give you some tips about driving in winter. So if you do follow our tips, and if you actually just take caution, traveling in winter in New Zealand is fantastic. Laura and I love it. It's much cheaper. It's really fun. And driving doesn't have to be that scary. So for some tips about traveling in winter, on, you know, kind of icy condition, I think you want to get started? Get a couple more?
Okay, so you obviously need to drive a lot more carefully in winter. So a few tips for driving in winter conditions is to avoid sudden braking. This is when you can slip on the ice. Like if your wheels stop, that's when you could, if you are on ice, that's when you could be sliding away. So if you get into a bit of a scary situation, don't slam your feet on the brakes.
So it's slow and steady brake, okay? So this is so important to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I just want to reinforce that. You do not just pile on the brake, be like, and hope you're gonna stop. Usually that's when you're gonna lose control, because basically the wheels are gonna break, and you just you know, slide on the ice, right?
Yeah.
So you're slow and steady, so you remain in control of your vehicle. But that links to the fact that you have to have much longer safety distances, and so I'm going with the next point now. You need to have really long safety distances. When you usually think, you know, I think when you learn driving anywhere in the world, I know Richard is from Florida, for example, I think they tell you need to have 2 cars distances when you drive at 100 kilometers an hour.
So you mean the distance behind another car?
Exactly, yes. So you need to count 2 cars distances, right? Well, double that and make it 4, just so you have plenty of space. New Zealand's roads are not busy. There is absolutely no reason to tailgate. And so just keep that in mind and make it like 4 car distances between you and the next car. So count 4 cars, and this should be a good distance. So in case you have to brake in a much slower pace, well, at least you know ending up in the vehicle in front.
Yeah.
Next tip.
Yeah, so you also need to avoid sudden direction changes. So I mean, don't do it. Yeah. Just don't all of a sudden turn your wheels super sharply. Just take it easy. It's kind of like all the tips are kind of like just drive nicely, normally, and safely. Yeah. So we've looked on leave large distances. So ways to see black ice on the road is while you're driving, just keep an eye out for any sort of shiny patches on the road. Obviously, if you are concentrating while you're driving, you'll be able to notice that quite easily. So, you know, if you see some shiny patches on the road, then, you know, start to slow right down and just take it easy.
Yeah, also look for some wet patches. So wet patches, so either it's going to look like a wet patch, but it's actually going to be a dry ice on the road, or it sometimes indicate that, well, it's kind of wet here, so some section of that road right here are going to be full of black ice. So just keep that in mind. But again, you know, we're giving you like a lot of tips right now. It's not that dangerous as long as you drive a little slower. So remember, in winter, your speed should be slower than your average in summer, right? So just keep that in mind as well. So if you drive slower, you'll be much safer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty obvious.
And just an additional tip, if you are driving, try, and it has been a frosty night, avoid driving early morning and wait till the sun is out and actually melted some of the ice on the roads before you go out. So maybe if it has been icy, just save your driving till a little bit later in the morning, going into afternoon.
Wait in the afternoon,
Yeah.
All right, cool. So now the thing that you kind of want to have in your checklist for driving in winter in New Zealand, the thing that you kind of, you know, need to pack, but not really pack, but you know. So first, you're gonna want to have some snow chain, especially if you want to go around the Tongariro area. It does snow in the central North Island quite a lot, so you're gonna want snow chain. Now, when you fit snow chain, if you never fitted snow chain before, you can definitely, when you get your car, when you pick it up, you can actually ask the team to show you how to put the snow chain. If you do not know how to do it, don't be afraid to ask, because I'm telling you, when you're gonna feel like you need a snow chain, this is not the time to learn how to do it, you know? Like they have some IKEA style manuals on every snow chain pack that tells you, you just do this, you just, it's a pain. It is genuinely a pain. So you're gonna want to ask the car rental team to show you how to do it. But in short, to put the snow chain, basically you put them around the wheel, and you know they need to be not too loose but not too tight. So don't tighten them like super tight, and not, you know, you need a little bit of leeway in there so you know things can move around. You obviously also want to have a torch, because you know the icy condition and the snow condition will often happen, as Laura mentioned, around night, because that's when it gets cooler. So if you drive at night, and if you're gonna need to put the snow chain, or you know, if there is a bit of an issue and everything, you're gonna want to have the torchlight. And obviously a spare battery or two will be quite handy just in case for the torchlight. It's just in case, but it's always pretty good.
It's not obviously you're not going to really need them, but you know, in that emergency situation that could possibly occur, but not. And
speaking on emergency, you want to have your mobile phone and the radio, which is always kind of handy, so you can listen to the radio and say, "Snowstorm is overtaking New Zealand." Again, it won't happen. Relax, but just in case, it's always good to have.
Good to have a mobile phone in case you need to contact the emergency services.
So while you drive as well in winter, Jordan.
No,
so while you drive in winter as well, it just reminded me that you want to have the headlights on even during the day, just in case. It's just because there may be some reflection. So let's say there is some black ice on the road that creates some shiny patches, and it's just maybe not clear and everything like that. So it's always easier to have the lights on, and you will find that Kiwis actually do that very much in winter, especially in the mountainous and more snowy area. Headlights on at all times, so do that as well.
And finally, make sure that, you know, if you are a bit iffy about driving, especially going into the Tongariro National Park, for instance, which is a higher level, where it is more likely to be a bit snowy, then make sure that you update yourself with the road conditions and, you know, the weather conditions as well. So a good place to go is the New Zealand Road Transport Agency website, and this gives you updated details on all the roads in New Zealand and if there's any that are closed. Also, for instance, before going in the Tongariro National Park, outside of it, there's a lot of road signs which tells you whether the road is open or closed, so obviously make sure you keep an eye on those. And keep an eye on the weather. If it's due to snow and you kind of feeling a little bit iffy about driving in the snow, then maybe change your plans.
All right, so that's basically all our tips for traveling in New Zealand. I'm just laughing right now because Richard's making fun of Laura, saying, "Up my date? No, I love my lady." All right, cool. So that's all our tips for traveling and driving in winter in New Zealand. Again, it's not that scary. It's not a crazy thing to do, but it may be something that you're not familiar with. So make sure you keep those tips in mind. And in case of that, just reduce your speed. That's always like the number one tip that we can give people. Anyway, if you do have any questions of your own, put them in the comment below. We are here to answer all your questions every single week on Sundays. So give them to us and we'll be here.